this. I forgot, dude. There we go.
Yeah.
Feels weird to be back, huh?
It does. It's been a long way.
A loon time away.
I got a couple of texts like, 9 days, where are you? It's been 10 days. Yeah. So hopefully, now that we're back.
Okay, tell me when.
We're better than ever. I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's get into it today.
Go. All right, welcome everybody to another episode of King of the Court. I'm your host, Tyler Leung.
Jimmy Miller.
The one and only, and this is going to be a great episode.
Yeah, we have been on the road.
We have been on the road, and we may or may not have made some promises or some promises that we said we might get some content and stuff out there, and we maybe forgot a little bit.
I mean, I think we have content. It's just maybe not the content, but we got information.
Anyways,
that's what you guys want.
Blame it on Jimmy.
Plenty. We're good.
Awesome. Okay, we want to start off with thanking our title sponsorship of this podcast. This would not be possible without them. Go check them out. Who is it, Jimmy?
The Pickler. Check them out. The #1 indoor pickleball facility in the world.
Go buy your next paddle at thepicklershop.com. They have the widest selection.
Yeah.
Great pricing.
Selection.
Yeah. And so if you need a paddle, bag, balls, anything pickleball related, go check them out at thepicklershop.com and use code, what is it?
KOTC.
KOTC. All right. So we had a jam-packed filled, honestly, past 10 days or so. And we had MLP that happened.
Yeah.
And there was a lot that happened there. And so we're going to get into kind of a breakdown, our thoughts and kind of what happened there. And then we're going to go on from there.
Yeah. So MLP, I mean, where do you begin with MLP? It was kind of, there's a question mark maybe?
There was
going to happen, wasn't going to happen.
So initially, most of you guys might know this, but this MLP was supposed to be in California, in LA area.
Thousand Oaks. Yeah, Thousand Oaks at Sherwood Country Club.
Yep. And then what, maybe 3 weeks before?
Yeah. It was maybe like 3 to 4 weeks before they announced the move to Dallas.
Yep.
So they decided to move it to Dallas to piggyback off of Nationals because obviously for financial reasons, it just kind of made sense. The build out was already done in Dallas or being completed. You're investing all this money for Nationals. I mean, if they're going to merge and they're going to be partners, it just makes more sense. Yeah. Instead of doing a full, complete build out of a new facility.
But even though they had plans to do that, that wasn't finalized until like the last day. So they had announced that they were going to Dallas, but it still wasn't certain until maybe like 1 week before, 1 to 2 weeks before.
Yeah. It sounds like there's some payments that needed to be made and some wires that needed to be sent. And so it happened. They pulled it off.
We go to Dallas and we are at Brookhaven. Beautiful area. And the center court build out, MLP, it was perfect.
Yeah. So Farmers Branch, Texas.
Yep.
So just a suburb of Dallas. I could live in Farmers Branch. The only thing is about Texas. I would miss the mountains.
Yeah.
Utah, like we have great scenery here. I mean, the mountain, like it looks like you can hit it with a rock from your front door.
Yeah.
Texas, it's like you look out and it's like
flat.
Nothing. Yeah. Flat.
I think their summers are pretty tough there, but outside of that, I think it's pretty nice.
Yeah. Probably fun though as a kid to ride your bike because it's all flat.
Exactly.
No hills. But Farmers Branch was great. Brookhaven Country Club was amazing. So MLP was more like centered because obviously there's no amateurs playing. Mm-hmm. So the main parts of MLP were really just the 4 or 5 main courts. Mm-hmm. Yep. So they had championship court, they had a 2-story VIP. Mm-hmm. Which
somehow you got access to.
Yeah, somehow. I don't know how. Sometimes you just got to know the right people.
Yeah.
2-story VIP on one side, and then they had bleachers kind of below it. And then on the other side, I mean, I believe center court held 3,000 people.
I think that's what they say, yeah.
Yeah, and then they had VIP tents on each end. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Grandstand court, and then even the other courts, court 3 and court 4, were also had great viewing, great seating. The whole build out was amazing. I think that the PPA, who did the build out, did a great job of that. So it looked good. They had They had food, vendors. I mean, they had tons of sponsors there. It was an event, which is what MLP is.
All right, awesome. So it was great venue, great atmosphere. So now let's get on to group play.
Yeah. So, we won't spend a ton of time on Challenger, but obviously as the GM of the California Black Bears,
assistant to the GM,
assistant to the general manager's assistant.
Okay.
We made the playoffs again. We are currently number 2 in the standings.
Okay.
If the super finals were to start today, we would be in the super finals. And we got hosed in the quarters.
Why do you say that?
Well, Tyler, thanks to Real Clear Stats for this, but in the game mixed doubles match, okay, we needed to win this match to push the Dream Breaker. The score
is this playoffs or
playoffs?
Okay,
first round of the playoffs, quarterfinals. It was 15-17. Gabe Tardio hit a ball down the line for the Mad Drops. Eric Pilette called it out. The Mad Drops erupted, said that ball was in. They wanted to challenge it. A little bit of controversy. I do have the screenshot. The ball was out. Eric Pilette, great eyesight. And after a little bit of arguing back and forth, so it was 15-17. We were serving. That ball was out. So the score should be
16-17.
16-17. And the ref goes back to call the score, and he calls the score 16-18. So we both got a point. Both sides got a point instead of one. And the Mad Drops end up winning. I believe they won 21-19 in that match. Maybe it was 21-17. I can't remember what it was. But essentially the Mad Drops never got to 21. Gotcha. They only had 20 points.
So we never know who the true winner.
We don't. So that, I mean, in my opinion, that means that even the Hard Eights, the Mad Drops went on to play the Hard Eights and lost. The Hard Eights championship is tainted.
Yeah. Tim Parks,
sorry, but this is the biggest asterisk since Barry Bonds.
Yeah.
We can't count that.
Should he rescind his first place?
Absolutely. I think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Is to rescind your championship.
He should at least acknowledge it and make a public statement about it.
I think so too. I think that we're just going to call MLP Dallas a no contest.
Yeah. It makes sense.
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. And so, we should.
I mean, you wouldn't want to win that way either.
Well, yeah. I mean, it just feels,
nobody wants
it just
to win
feels
that
a
way.
little bit hollow. Like, I think if we had asked CJ Klinger, he would feel the same way.
Yeah.
He played amazing, by the way. That kid was insane. But yeah, nobody wants to win the championship that way. So, So we're going to call MLP Dallas a no contest for the challenger side of things, unfortunately.
Okay.
I'm sure Tim Parks is probably on the rules committee in some way, so it's probably partly his fault for the referees.
He has his hands in a lot of bags.
Yeah, so we're not going to count MLP Dallas because of that call. So moving on to Premier.
Okay, Premier. So we're going to go with Group A first. This was what people initially called the Group of Death.
The Group of Death ended up being pretty weak.
Yeah, so it was Chicago Slice, Ben John's team, Arizona Drive, Debacle Bar's team, or Julian.
No, we're going to say Deckel's after the way Julian acted.
Okay, and then we have Texas Ranchers, Dylan Frazier, and then Orlando Squeeze. Okay, and I think you predicted coming out of this Orlando Squeeze and Chicago Slice. Were there any interesting matchups there?
Did I may have predicted the Drive beating the Squeeze for some stupid reason, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, so I think that the biggest surprise is that the Drive were bad.
Okay.
They made the playoffs.
They did.
Mr. Andiamo himself is the MLP king. Right?
Yeah.
He thrives off MLP, and he was awful. He was a disaster. Their whole team really struggled. There's a lot of rumors out there that he basically said he didn't care about MLP. His team wasn't listening to him. He was only making $5,000, so who cares?
Yeah.
He, asked for a couple of...
he needs that $5 million contract.
Yeah, he does. He asked for a couple of interesting requests, similar to what he asked for in his contract. And yeah, they did not play well.
Okay.
You go to Instagram and Debacle Bar posted a photo about MLP and just said, love my team, blah, blah, blah. And one person was absent.
Who was it?
Julian Arnold.
He was probably out getting some food or something.
I'm sure he has somebody do that for him. I'm sure his chef does that for him. Maybe he wanted to charge. I mean, this seems to be on brand for him. Charge Debacle for an appearance fee in his photo. And Debacle wasn't willing to pay that.
Yeah.
So the drive were pretty rough. So the slice.
So they ended up going 0-3.
Yeah.
And then, all right, slice.
So slice, Ben Johns. It's hard to bet against Ben Johns. That group was really interesting because the squeeze went undefeated. They went 3-0. Every other team in that group was 1-2. So they all lost to the squeeze, and then they kind of beat each other up. So yeah, the drive actually went 1-2. I think they beat the Ranchers.
Okay, gotcha.
So everybody was 1-2. The slice ended up getting into the playoffs
off of games.
Yeah, the net differential. Yep. So had the slice, lost, 4-0 in a match or something like that, then they may not have got in. So that one was it's interesting. But the squeeze are they're MLP kings right now at this point. So slice and squeeze come out of the group of death. Ranchers again just kind of underperformed in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. I really did think that they would be a pretty solid team. Honestly, a top 5 team.
Yeah, I mean you got Dylan, you got Rettenmeyer, you got Georgia, you got
Lolo,
Lauren Stratman. So I don't know. Lauren she just has not played well the last couple of weeks, months, years. 2023 her whole career. I don't know, whatever you want to say. I mean, I've never been very bullish on her, but I just think that she just wasn't great. And so slice, squeeze, moving on.
Okay. All right. Now on to our group B.
So group B was pretty tough on paper. I mean, there's no easy ones. So group B was DC, Columbus, the Breakers, and the Bouncers. Well, group B on paper, well, it looks tough other than the Bouncers because everybody knows the Bouncers are bad and they continue to prove it, unfortunately. But the problem with group B is it got very easy for DC in a hurry because Etta Wright, the day before, I believe, pulled out. Yeah. She wasn't feeling well.
Supposedly, she was ghosting them or not responding for weeks leading up to that.
Yeah, like none of the players had heard from her. And then she ended up texting, I think they're the Breakers general manager. And
the day before.
And she said she wouldn't make it. And then Columbus ends up losing Maggie Brasha to the flu.
Not mono?
No, I think Mary has the mono, Maggie has the flu.
Okay.
So they lose Maggie. So the Breakers end up picking up Susanna Barr. And the Columbus Sliders end up picking up Megan Fudge.
Yep.
And DC obviously has Riley Newman, Christian Alshon, and Jade and Jackie Kawamoto. They didn't have much trouble in this one, DC, of getting through this. It was really who's the second team to come out of it. And I think on paper, if you look at it, the second team was always going to be the winner of the Breakers and Sliders match, which, wildly enough, Sliders swept them 4-0. Colin Johns, breaking news.
Your favorite player.
Emergency pod.
Yeah.
We need like that red light right here. Woo. Breaking news. Colin Johns won a mixed match.
Yeah.
He won.
I think he won a couple. No?
I don't know.
He beat Hayden in the playoffs. I know that.
He won his mixed match.
22-20.
But here's the thing. With Megan Fudge.
Yeah.
Megan Fudge played really well for the Sliders.
Yeah.
She grinded out points. She did what she did. And he ended up beating, Connor Rafa and Susanna Barr. Also, interesting with the Bouncers is Hunter Johnson and Pablo Tejas upset Christian Alshon and Riley Newman.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. Me and Hayden actually played against them in practice, and they were actually good. They're a good team.
Yeah.
There's a couple of ways you could look at it. Number one, they played well, the Bouncers, or Hunter and Pablo, or B, DC just thought that they were going to win that match regardless, and so they maybe weren't trying as hard.
Yeah, I think that nobody really takes the Bouncers serious. Unfortunately, there's a lot of disaffection on that team. Like we had team dinners, and Pablo would come to our team dinner. They didn't hang out. They weren't talking in warm-ups. They weren't talking off the court. I saw Simone. Happy birthday, by the way, to her, 44. I saw her and just talked to her a little bit. We were talking not even about MLP. We were talking about nationals. And I said, hey, who are you? She said she's not playing women's. And I said, oh, who are you supposed to play with? And she said, nobody, which isn't true. She's supposed to play with Paris. But one, she's going to take the high road.
Yeah.
But there's definitely like
But you're not.
Well, no, I mean, it's common knowledge. So, the rumors out there, which we love rumors, were that, Atlanta tried to trade her.
Yeah.
Her and Paris have a little bit of a falling out. We don't know whose side, whose fault, et cetera, but they're not playing next year together.
Yeah.
And so they just the bouncers are just a little bit disjointed.
Yeah.
Pablo's just kind of doing his thing. Hunter and Paris obviously are,
Okay. Anything else with Group B?
No. So DC and Columbus come out of Group B.
Okay. All right. Moving on to Group C. So this was the group that I would go
real
back.
Quick, Group B, real fast. One thing that we do have to touch on because we missed it was the DC versus Breakers match. Christian Alshon versus Leigh Jansen.
Okay.
They started chirping.
Chirping.
I was sitting there. Leigh gets a point, turns to the crowd like this way, and just says, "Come on," like this. Not to them, not to anything, and it fired Christian up. So he earns her a few points later, and he does like the finger wag.
Yeah.
And then they go at it.
Yeah.
And she makes a lot of comments about his alleged relationship with somebody that we will not name.
Okay.
During the match.
Okay.
Personal comments.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are good. One of them, I believe she said, "This person is better than you at singles."
Yeah, she said your girlfriend is better than you at singles. Yeah. And then she said, "Oh, it's cute your in-laws are here watching you." Because, yes. And then she also called him something else. Are we allowed to say it?
I don't think so. That one's a little bit too explicit
but
for
it's
this.
Very aggressive.
Yes.
And yeah.
Did the ref hear that?
I mean, she was standing at the net.
How did you not get coded for that?
Yeah, I don't know, but it was wild. So that was exciting. I mean, me, I love it. I love the trash talk. I love the chirping. So I'm in for that.
Okay, moving on to Group C. All right, so that's the group that I was in. So we have the Aces, Brooklyn Aces, Miami Pickleball Club, Dallas Pickleball Club, and the Utah Black Diamonds. Going into this, you did not have the Aces coming out.
I did not.
You had Miami and I believe Utah's team.
Yeah.
Okay.
My problem with, I've bet on Utah twice now and they've let me down. So this is the most evenly balanced group.
Okay.
And I think it showed because after day one, everybody was 1-1.
Yep. So going into the last match, whatever team won moved on into the playoffs. And I think that was really fun. That made it a lot more intense.
Yeah. So Brooklyn played Dallas and Miami played Utah.
Yep.
And so and there's some dream breakers in between. For example, Brooklyn, you guys had a dream breaker with Utah the day before.
Yep.
I believe there was another dream breaker. Was it Dallas and Utah had a dream breaker?
Yes.
And then Miami and Utah. Did Miami and Utah have a dream breaker? Scroll down a little bit.
No.
Okay. Okay, no. But anyways, there was a lot of close matches in that one.
Okay.
So you guys ended up losing to Miami to start. And then you ended up beating Utah in a dream breaker. And in that dream breaker, you faced off.
So I went up against Annalie. So last season, I went up against Annalie in the finals of San Clemente.
Yeah.
And we played 2 rotations. The first rotation, I think I won 4-0 on her.
Yeah.
And then the second time, I think she won 3-1, I think.
Okay.
And so we matched up. They put me up against her again.
Yeah.
I think as the second or third person.
I think you're second.
Okay, second.
And the final score of that, I think it ended up being like 5-3 for her.
Yeah.
However, you won match point.
Yep. So you have to win on your serve, and so I played against her on my serve. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you win match point. You guys win the dream breaker.
We do. Yep.
You walk to the net. And what did she say?
So I won the point, and I go up to the net, like tapping paddles and everything like that. What do you think she says to me?
Oh, I know what she said.
I thought she was going to say, "Oh, nice job," or something like that. And she says, "Congratulations on winning 3 points on me."
What? You lost. She lost. And 5-3 it's not like it's his ass kicking. It was 5-3.
It's kind of funny.
It is funny, but like she still lost.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, that bodyguard that she has that walks around with her everywhere. What's funny is Annalie's a fast walker. Like she's kind of a speed walker. If you watch her walk through the venue, she's fast. She walks fast. She's like scurries. Scurries is a good word.
Yeah.
And he tries to keep up.
Yeah.
He can't. And then her dad is always trailing them by like 30 or 40 feet.
Trailing the bodyguard.
The bodyguard. So you have Annalie scurrying along, the bodyguard trying to hustle and keep up with Annalie like he's like out of breath. And then her dad behind them. And it's like, hey, slow down. Like they can't, if somebody, I don't know what they would do.
No, that's good. Yeah. So I thought that was a really interesting comment. I mean, I don't care. It's fine. It was actually kind of funny. Because as you said, they lost that was the final point. They lost. But I think it's interesting, that some of these players are not only specific to her, but there's a lot of these players that they act all innocent, they act all nice, they act all this and that, which is fine. But then behind closed doors, or when people can't see them, or when the camera's not on them, they act a different way. And I mean, you've said it before, that if people act a negative way, you're fine with that, as long as they act that way through and through.
Yeah, just be honest. So
be honest, be true.
Yeah, and so Annalie, this wasn't the last time she talked trash.
No. Oh, and then apparently, I didn't see this, but apparently she was doing some gestures to me.
So she throat slashed you.
Yeah.
She in that the first round, the first 4 points.
Yeah.
You played against her. I think it was when it was like she got to 3, she turned and she freaking throat slashed. Like, throat slash is the one, like in the NFL, that's banned. If you throat slash, you get thrown out. She freaking throat slashed you.
Ouch.
How does that feel? You got throat slashed by a 16-year-old girl.
Yeah, I'm in trouble now.
She took your soul.
Yeah.
So later on, Miami is playing Utah.
Yep.
And Fed is playing, and he's up on Annalie 18-8. Mm-hmm. Okay, so they're putting it on them. I think they ended up winning 21.
And Annalie was with AJ.
Yep. And Fed hits a winner or something, and Annalie says to Fed, hey, if you played this well in PPA, maybe you would actually win something.
Yeah.
Kind of funny. Mm-hmm. I don't hate it. I actually think it's funny. And it's kind of true.
Yeah.
I mean, he was rolling. And so then they have another point. They have a hands battle. Fed hits a winner.
Do I need to get something ready?
No, we're going to say it. It's okay. Fed hits a winner. He looks at her and he says, take that, bitch.
Uh-huh.
AJ loses it. We have a little bit of a confrontation.
Okay.
AJ essentially tells Fed, meet me behind the bleachers. Meet me at the flagpole at noon. Mm-hmm. Big controversy. A little bit of a dust up. I believe Fed lost a point. He was carded.
Yeah.
Lost a point. He still ends up winning the match. And that spilled over to social media.
Yeah.
So they start talking about it on social media. AJ posts like a clown emoji, then some kitten emojis referring to...
What is a kitten emoji?
The female anatomy, calling them a pussycat.
Okay.
And then they
not only was it Fed, but I believe it was Pablo.
Pablo gets into it too on social media. Yeah. Because Fed and Pablo, they're a package deal.
Yeah.
So they get into it with each other on social media, going back and forth. And
I think it was pretty heated. Like it was pretty heated. Like it wasn't just joking around. Like they were calling each other out. They were
very heated. Now Fed did apologize.
Real quick, what I was thinking. So Tyson is on Annalie's team.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
No, Tyson's on Fed's team.
Yeah, sorry, on Fed's team. Could you imagine if somebody said that to him or his wife?
Oh yeah, I mean it'd be over. Like yeah. Well, he said it to me.
Oh yeah, you had a fun interaction with him.
Yeah.
So you and Tyson are walking in this small corridor.
Yeah.
And so you can't really pass each other.
Yeah. So let me be really clear with this. Okay. Like we're over it. I don't care. Let's move on. It's over with. Like,
but yet we'll bring it up.
Well, I mean, it's funny, right? Like I don't have any animosity towards the guy, right? Like I have zero.
Yeah.
Right. I wasn't avoiding him. I wasn't trying to go there. You know what I'm saying? Like the venue wasn't, there's only 4 courts for the pros to play on. So the venue wasn't huge.
Yeah.
You're going to run into each other.
Yeah.
Right. So we're walking in this and the walkways were small.
Yeah. They're small.
So we're walking in this walkway and it's me and him. We're going right towards each other. There's no way of avoiding each other. There's no way to like literally,
And this is Jimmy's favorite guy.
Yeah. I just don't care. Like, honestly, I'm not scared. I'm not scared of him. I'm not scared of anybody. Okay. I'm a grown up, right? Grown-ups do grown-up things. And that's walk down dark alleyways when a tattooed man is coming towards you. And so he starts walking towards me. We kind of make eye contact, and I tapped him on the shoulder. And I was like, "Hey, what's up?" Because I was trying to be cordial. And he said, "You know what he said?" Can I say
you told me. You can abbreviate it.
He basically said, "F you."
Yeah.
Literally looked right at me and he said, "F you," and kept walking. And I said, "Good luck this weekend." I kind of I laughed. I was like, "Okay." I was a little bit taken back, but whatever. Do you?
Yeah.
And then I saw him a lot later on.
Yeah.
And we had no issues. In fact, there was one time, and I'm going to tell you this. This is funny. This is, whether this was intentional or not, I'm going to give him credit. Because this was actually funny. So he had his wife with him all weekend, which is great. Great support. Good for her. And then he had his stallion performance guy, whatever that dude's name is. I don't know his name.
Yeah.
And they were basically with him. Those two were with him all weekend. Didn't matter. Wherever he went, they went. So we're walking in. He's walking into the players' lounge, and I'm walking out of it. And so again, me and him, nowhere to go. Tyson's carrying both his bags.
Yeah.
Full Selkirk, massive bags, full of his sweaty clothes, which we know probably have 50 shirts in there. He's carrying them. His wife has nothing in her hands. Very chivalrous of him. Stallion guy has nothing in his hands. Tyson sees me. We're walking towards each other, and he kind of hunches them up on his back, almost so that I see it. Yeah. And then he winks at me.
Yeah.
And walks by.
That's funny.
That was funny.
That's funny.
I'm cool with that. That was funny. He was gives me the wink and then walks by.
Yeah.
We didn't say anything. And I just laughed. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
That was that's funny.
But that first interaction, that's crazy.
The first one, he had freaking yellow eyes. He was like, "Rawr."
Yeah.
But whatever. Do you? Yeah.
All right, back to Group C. So Miami, Fed does that to Leigh. He says that to Leigh. He gets coded.
They end up winning.
Okay.
Miami still ends up winning that one. And then you guys end up beating Dallas.
Yes.
To advance.
Yep.
So Brooklyn and Miami advance out of that.
Yep.
That pool. So we head to the playoffs.
Going to the playoffs. So this is all Saturday or Sunday.
So in the playoffs, you guys play Columbus.
Sliders. Colin Johns, your team.
Colin Johns, J.W. Johnson, Megan Dazan, and Megan Fudge. Because once you pull out for illness or sickness, I don't know if anybody knows this, you cannot come back. So Maggie Brasha felt better because this was the next day. So she was actually on their bench, but she could not come back in and compete. So we have Maggie, who is, we have you guys playing the Sliders.
In the quarterfinals.
In the quarters.
Yep.
And
we actually would have played Miami, but since they came from the same pool, we can't play the same team
in the same pool.
Yeah.
So that match is very close.
Yep.
It's very contested. Surprisingly, your women, Megan Dazan and Megan Fudge, beat Catherine and Coop.
I thought our women had a very good chance going into that.
I thought so too. In fact, on paper, I would have said that your women have a better chance and their men probably had a slight chance.
Sure.
And I think based off Duper ratings, that was, know Duper, but so their women end up beating your women 21-16.
Yep.
Which is pretty big win in rally scoring. And then we get to the men's match. And Tyler Leung, the newly
renovated,
renewed Tyler Leung, and Hayden Patrick-Quinn, who I think has a freaking trajectory that is out of this world right now. Smash J.W. Johnson and Colin Johns. You guys smashed them. You beat them down. You curb stomped them. You let them back up, and then you kicked them in the face again. 21-13.
Okay.
And it wasn't even that close. If you watch that match, they could do nothing against you guys. I mean, you guys slayed.
Hayden was playing lights out.
Yeah, Hayden was lights out. So then you move on to mixed doubles.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, well, this is the easy one because Colin and Megan Fudge, right? I mean, Megan Fudge obviously I think is better at mixed than Colin, but it's Colin. And it's a close match, a battle. And Hayden and Coop lose a tight one, 23-21. So now you're up against it. Backs against the wall.
Yep, we're down 1-2.
You have their number one mixed team, J-Dub and Megan. And that's a good team. I mean, that's a medalist team in a PPA event. I think if you looked at that team in a PPA event, you think
they're probably a top 5 team.
They're probably top 5 team. And you and Catherine have to win, must win match.
And up to this point, I think me and Catherine were undefeated in this event in mixed doubles.
In mixed doubles.
Yeah.
So it goes back and forth, highly contested. It's 19-15. You guys are winning.
Yes.
Ball gets popped up. Megan Dazan goes for an overhead.
Yeah.
J-Dub also goes for an overhead, and he clocks her in the back of the head.
Loud.
Yeah. Like literally the loudest I've heard a paddle. It's like, you know, when someone slaps their leg with a paddle? It was louder than that.
I went back and watched the live stream of when that happened, and it doesn't do it justice. It was much louder in person.
It was insanely loud. Like people were like, they let out audible gasp because they're like, oh crap.
Yeah.
Megan drops.
And Megan has had a history of
she already got hit in the head by Fed once, so she was concussed.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because she's tall or if it's because I don't know what it was, but he dropped her.
Hey, I've played mixed with Megan.
Yeah, never hit her.
I've never hit her in the head.
Megan, take note.
Knock on wood.
So, well, the good news is her 2024 partner. He's not tall enough to hit her in the head. Just saying.
Okay.
I won't say who that is, but she's probably taller. No, another little guy with small man syndrome. Anyways, she gets blasted.
Yeah.
She goes down. Medics come, take a timeout, and we asked what the rule is because obviously I was on your bench because clearly I'm the good luck charm for the aces. I was 2 for 2. Actually, then we'll get to when I wasn't. But so they come out. Brooks Wiley, the commissioner, we asked what the rule is. Brooks says the rule is they can take anybody who's been eliminated.
I don't think they necessarily knew off the top of their heads what the ruling was. They all were like looking through the rule books. Literally, our GM was like going back through the email, the rule books and everything like that, trying to figure out exactly the wording on the rules. But yeah, continue.
So they basically say that you can take anybody who's been eliminated from Challenger. Well, at this point, Challenger was over. So everybody thought it was someone that had been eliminated, not anybody that was done playing Challenger. So we don't know who they're going to choose. Right. So it's 19-15. Megan actually comes back, which is impressive because she got clocked hard. Comes back. Very first point after she comes back, after her timeout, you guys hit the ball right to her. She dumps it into the net. Pretty easy shot. And I was like, okay, this match is over.
Yeah.
She freaking battles back.
Yeah. Back to 2020. So that put us up 2015 or 2016. Yeah.
And she battles back to 2020. And Megan was playing really well.
Yeah.
And so you guys end up squeaking out a 22-20 win to force a Dream Breaker.
Yes.
So you go to a Dream Breaker, and all of a sudden Yana Newell comes onto the court and starts warming up. And so this is where it gets weird because Yana starts warming up, and Megan says, well, I'm going to see if I can go, but if I can't, Yana's going to play.
Yeah.
And we love Megan, dear friend. Yana's better at singles than Megan.
Yes.
Right? So the controversy comes in that can a player just pull out, like Andrea Coop, for example. She's not a great singles player. She's self-admitted.
Yeah. She said, we talked about this. She's all like, if that's the rule, somebody hit me in the arm and I'll fake an injury or say I got injured.
Yeah, I got injured. Yeah. And can she pull out? And you bring in, another good singles player from Challenger, right?
Yeah.
And so, just to have the fact that like they're able to, like Megan, for me, I know that Megan was hurt. I'm not questioning that one bit.
Yeah.
But she finished the match. Yeah. Or finished that game.
We were more mad about the rules. We weren't mad at the team at all. We were more mad at the rules allowing whatever happened to happen. And I mean, had she pulled out of that match, that match should have been forfeited. They shouldn't have been able to bring somebody in for that match specifically.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think the fact that they were able to bring in somebody specifically for singles.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like she got hurt by like you guys. She got hurt by her own player.
Yeah.
So I went to Brooks and I told him we need a new rule. And I told him it needs to be called the Jimmy Miller rule because obviously I'm the inventor of it.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't I be in the MLP rule book? So my idea is that you can have a sub and that's okay. But that person needs to be declared before the match starts. So, because for example, had Megan got hurt on the first point in mixed doubles, they don't bring in Yana. I think they bring in Tina Pisnik.
Yeah.
who was also there.
But should they even be allowed to bring in somebody in the first place? They should have had to forfeit that specific match.
So yeah, I see that side of it, but because for TV purposes and for whatever I just think that if you are going to allow a sub, I think that person needs to be declared previous.
Okay.
And so if that was declared previous, then obviously, you would know. But anyways, Yana doesn't end up playing, so it really ended up being much ado about nothing.
Okay. So close to Dreambreaker.
Yeah, close. It was a battle.
MVP of that one? Coop.
So it was 22-22.
Or Catherine. Because Catherine went
played
up
against Colin Johns.
Your boy Colin.
And Catherine outplayed him at the end.
The second rotation she did.
Second rotation.
Yeah.
Didn't Catherine want Colin?
I think she did.
She called out she wanted him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Catherine's good. She was freaking great.
She's cold.
She is.
Ice in her veins.
She is. And so, and then Coop and Megan battle it out, and Coop ends up pulling out the Dreambreaker. I think they had a couple match points on you. Mm-hmm. And you guys fought him off.
They had one match point. Megan Fudge.
That's right.
Yeah.
Against you.
Against me, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And Coop pulls off the Dreambreaker. You guys win 24-22 to advance.
Yep.
And the other other quarterfinals, the Slice just smacked Miami.
Yep.
Which is crazy because
3-0.
3-0. That was the first men's match that Eric Lang and Ben Johns had won all weekend together.
Yep.
They just killed him. I mean, I don't know. Miami just didn't show up.
Okay. Do you just want to skip ahead to the finals now?
Yeah. So moving on, you guys end up playing DC.
We got smashed by them. It was an 8 a.m. start time. Pretty early.
Yeah. So I asked Brooks Wiley why it was so early, and he said that there was
scheduling later
at the venue. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Squeeze end up beating the Slice 3-0. So unfortunately the semis didn't leave a lot of drama. And then we get to the finals.
Okay.
And the same thing happened. So do you remember the big thing about the first MLP was that Dallas went up 2-0 and then they had a match point, or DC went up 2-0 and then they had a match point against the Squeeze, and Christian missed that overhead.
Yeah.
And had he hit that overhead, it would have been 3-0 DC.
Yeah.
DC would have crushed them, and nobody would have been talking about the Squeeze for the last 2 months.
Yeah.
Well, this time they finished it.
Yeah.
So they go up 3-0. They beat them 3-0, 21-15, 21-10. 21-15 in women's, 21-10 in men's, which is crazy. And then 24-22 in the first mixed match, which was that's how we were very close to that exact same result in MLP Atlanta. But the Squeeze ended up fight it off and get to so DC wins. They're the MLP champs. Unlike Challenger, it's not tainted. There's no asterisks there.
Yep.
Christian wins the MVP.
Okay.
Which I probably would have given it to Jade.
Okay.
Or Riley. I think Riley's the best player on the best team, but whatever. You never see in the NBA, you don't see, Jordan Clarkson winning the MVP, the sixth man. So anyways, he gives a speech, or they give him the MVP. And then Christian says, I'm the only person ever, or nobody has ever won Challenger and Premier League MVP until me. He's the only person to play in both. Isn't there only 3 people that have played in both?
Yeah.
And the league's 2 years old, 3 years old.
Yeah.
That's a weird boast.
Gotta love it.
That's very Christian-esque.
Yeah. I mean, what else would you expect?
Yeah.
It's great.
Absolutely.
It's great.
He introduced himself to me.
He did?
Yeah.
Nice.
He said, I don't think we've actually formally met. And
I want to get him on the show.
He said,
yeah,
but he's very aware.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I have a funny story I'll have to tell you offline about him, but good guy.
He's a funny dude. I think the best way that I can describe Christian is that
he's very emotional.
He's very emotional. I think that he has honestly, he's becoming a great player. But I think he has insecurities about not belonging at this level.
Are you a therapist now?
No, yeah, I am. I'm going to break this down. I think he has these insecurities about not belonging at this level. And so he has to put it out there.
If you guys need any help, send him a message and he can schedule a one-on-one training with you guys.
He's got to put it out there that he belongs to make himself believe that he belongs, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Somebody tell me what that's called. Cognitive dissonance. I don't know. Totally. Okay.
All right. So moving on. Supposedly our next MLP event is San Clemente.
San Clemente.
In first week of December or something like that.
And there's a lot of talk. There's supposed to be a vote. It might be in a bridge version where it's just playoff teams. Mm-hmm. They might do a full event. Nobody's really sure. We had someone at Lifetime reached out to me and told me that it was canceled. But I spoke to the owners. Yeah. I talked to a lot of people in the know. And as of right now, it is not canceled. They're trying to figure out the best way to make it work.
Yeah.
And that's most viable. Whether they cancel it or they don't cancel it,
we'll know maybe 1 or 2 days before.
Yeah. But there's actually not a huge difference in the money.
I don't understand necessarily how that plays. Yeah.
And so whether they cancel it, they still have some guarantees they have to pay.
Yeah.
And so it actually doesn't make a huge difference in terms of financial value, at least. I mean, for you or I, well, maybe not with your big deal, but for a normal person, it's a lot of money. But for these guys, it's really not. So I think that it's going to go on. I think it may be a little bit modified, but I think they're going to do it.
Okay.
So that's my guess on that.
Real quick. Oh, continue.
Just one more thing about MLP. Mm-hmm. The number of people that came up and talked to us was awesome.
Lovely. Incredible.
I mean, I loved it.
It made us feel like celebrities.
Yeah, for sure. And please, come talk to us. Say hi.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the pod.
You're a big deal now.
Let's spill some
big
tea.
Deal.
Let's spill some tea.
Yeah. This guy, he knows everything. He knows everything out there.
I'm not a big deal, but I'll tell you something funny. Well, maybe I'll save it for the next pod. But I found out that a player pulled out and literally found out, and nobody knew that player pulled out. And I was talking to Connor Ogden and I said, "Did you hear so-and-so pulled out?" And he's like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
And he didn't even know. So he got on the phone and called them and found out. And he's like, "How did you know that before we even knew it?"
Yeah.
So anyway, that was kind of funny. But that actually, I just got really lucky to find out about that. But
awesome. Hey, if you guys are still watching this video, please do us a big favor and hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps us out on this channel. We are trying to grow, and it allows for us to continue making these videos and get Jimmy out to those tournaments. It was a miracle to see you out there.
I would say that other than kissing babies and signing autographs, the second most thing I did was people tell me, "Oh, you made it. You finally made it to a tournament." I didn't kiss babies or sign autographs, by the way.
All right, moving on. So we are going to move on to one other topic, which we did not talk about in the beginning, which we should have because it was probably the most hotly debated topic from MLP. But first, we want to give a huge shout out to our new sponsor, C&D Pickleball Nets.
Yes. They were the official net sponsor of MLP.
Official net sponsor of MLP. Not only that, they live here in Utah, and we are getting a tour of their facility of where they make these nets.
We're pumped. These guys are awesome.
These are the heavy duty nets. They weigh a ton, but they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, they have no bolts.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
I did.
No bolts in these nets. They're permanent nets that you can obviously, but they don't have, you don't have the built-in poles.
Exactly.
They use them for MLP. Check out the MLP nets. I mean, you can see how amazing these are. We are pumped about this sponsor. If you were to buy a net, this is the net that we would buy. Right. We talk about how here's one thing that I'll say. We've had a lot of people reach out to the podcast to sponsor. I don't mean that to be boastful. It's just something that's happened. And for us, we like to stick with products that we would actually use.
Yes.
And Crown Pickleballs is obviously one of those we love and we've had great success with. C&D nets are the best nets on the market.
Yes.
And we can say that truthfully, and they are, we're pumped for this. So check them out.
Check them out. They have a website, bestpickleballnets.com, and you can use code KOTC to save yourself $100 off. Yeah. It helps support us and gets you the best product out there. They are also on pickleballcentral.com as well as a few other platforms.
Yeah, you can check them out on Pickleball Central. The one thing I'll say too, if you're putting, there's so many new pickleball facilities out there. These would be great nets for that too.
Yeah. Because you're not tied to the facility. So if you have to leave or whatever, you can pick them up and move.
Yeah,
but they're going to be heavy duty. The tension across the net is just like an in-ground net post.
Yeah, exactly. If MLP
is using them for their tournaments,
they're obviously legit. The other thing is you don't, if you have a home court, right? Like things change, and so instead of having those posts that are put in the ground, these are the nets that you want.
Yeah. The only downside I'll say is they're heavy, but that makes them last longer. They're not going to move.
Yeah. I believe, and don't quote me on this, but I believe on their website you can find it, but I think it's a 10-year
warranty. Yeah. So don't quote us on that yet. Go check them out. BestPickleballNets.com.
I believe that's on like the framework and the structure, but go check it out.
Thank you for sponsoring this segment of the show, and thank you for partnering with us, C&D Pickleball Nets. All right. One thing that we probably should have talked about in the very beginning, paddle testing.
I love it. This was great.
Insane.
If you own a paddle or a paddle company and you brought it to MLP,
it was confiscated.
It failed. And then they took it. So here's what I was told. I spoke to
Give us a rundown.
A rep from a paddle company. And here's what his explanation to me on why everything failed. Mm-hmm. He said that the standard is 8 pounds of, what's the word?
Like weight?
Pressure, like 8 pounds of deflection?
Yeah.
Something like that. Okay, I'm going to botch this. Mm-hmm. He said that for MLP, they changed it to 12.
Mm-hmm. So essentially there was more weight or more pressure with the instruments they were using to test.
Yes. And so every paddle was basically performed at 8 when they were built, made, manufactured. And
is this verifiable? This
is verifiable, yes.
Okay.
This is from a very large paddle manufacturer that sponsors a ton of players. Okay. And then they changed it to 12. Mm-hmm. So everybody's paddles were failing.
Yeah.
90% of paddles at MLP failed. Annalie Waters brought 24 paddles. Mm-hmm. Every paddle failed.
I heard it was 18, but regardless, that's a high number.
It's a high number. You had how many?
So I recently switched to a new paddle that Vulcan just came out with.
Yeah.
And so I had 3 of those with me.
Yeah.
And all those 3 failed.
All of them failed.
Yeah.
Jay, I think, had 6 and all but 1 failed.
He had a lot more than that.
Okay. Yeah. But all but 1 failed. And we're not talking like one company.
Yeah, exactly. This was across the board.
This is Pro XRs. Yeah. Well, here's what's funny is, so for example, Connor Garnett, okay? Connor Garnett has these brand new Pro XRs and he goes to take them for testing and they fail. Okay? He brings out these used Pro XRs and he's like, Jimmy, feel this. And it is like as slick as this table.
Yeah. Well, there's 2 tests that they can pass. Deflection and grit.
Yeah. And it was a combination of things that were failing. Yep. So he gives me this paddle that literally is as smooth as this table. And he's like, I've been using this paddle. It's like worn out. He takes it in, fails. Yeah. Everything was failing. I mean, there was like...
It was crazy.
Yeah. Eva
crazy.
Radikowska.
Okay.
Eva?
I think it's Eva.
Eva? I don't know. She had to borrow a fan's paddle to use. She used a paddle that she's never used before. That was a different size than anything that she'd ever used.
Yeah.
I mean, it was out of control. And then the funniest thing is they confiscated them.
Yeah, they want to give them back.
And so it was Sunday after MLP, and all the players are going, actually more of their reps or their paddle companies are going to get these paddles. There was companies that were overnighting paddles. I think Yola was overnighting paddles.
Some of these companies had people go out there with paddles. You went fly out there
to Pickleball Central.
Yeah, Pickleball Central probably sold 300 to 500 paddles.
Yeah, and you just got a paddle right off the shelf, right? Like
I went back to my old one.
You went to this one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, went and got a paddle right off the shelf. It was crazy. I mean, the controversy of it was just insane.
There's so much more that goes in. We could spend honestly 2 hours talking about this, but there's so many crazy things about that. Like literally they're in this tiny room.
Yeah.
And we weren't able to go in the back, but I guarantee it was stacked with paddles.
Yeah, for sure.
If every person had 5 to 15 paddles fail.
Yeah.
I mean, do some quick math. Jimmy, do some quick math.
Well, I mean, there's how many players?
100 players times 15.
100 players times 15 is 1,500. So there's 1,500 paddles.
So say maybe 1,000 to 1,500 paddles back there.
Yeah, I know. And they're just stacked and they're giving them back in these boxes. And like,
think about the monetary value of that as well.
Yeah.
If somebody broke in.
I know, right? Paddles everywhere. It was out of control.
And then, I mean, there's so much more that goes into it because what if you're sponsoring a player and those paddles fail and they need a paddle, can they play with another paddles company?
I mean, I think at that point they had to, right? There were some players that were using different brands of paddles they'd never used before.
I think James Ignatowicz had to completely switch to a different model.
Yeah. I think that all the 002s failed.
Yeah.
Every 002 failed. I mean, it was, the thing that is it wasn't one company. It wasn't like, just the Selkirks were failing or just the Yolas or just
But the frustrating part is they weren't giving the stats or the numbers to the companies.
They wouldn't tell them how close they were, and they wouldn't tell them if they're failing for grit or deflection.
Exactly.
They were just giving you a pass fail.
Yeah. And I think
which is great if you're in high school, but not if you're,
I think Brooks was, taking the stance that these companies are skirting the boundaries. They're trying to cheat.
Yeah. So every paddle company is trying to cheat.
I think that's what he was alluding to.
I mean, there was just too many. There was just too many that were failing. You've got to change that. It's at some point, it's not you guys set the standard. You tell them what the standard is, not freaking every paddle company, miss the mark on the standard.
Yeah.
There's got to be some communication issue there. And that's
if they did change the protocol, the testing protocol, that should have been made known to everybody.
Yeah. And
to
it
the
was
players
clear
and companies.
Talking to this rep that I talked to, that they had no idea. Mm-hmm. And I think he told me that they ended up shipping in overnighting 75 paddles. Because this company has, I would say, they probably have the most players. Mm-hmm. They shipped in 75 paddles or something like that.
Yeah.
It was out of control.
Yeah.
In the end, I think everybody, you didn't get to play with your new paddle.
No.
And so in the end, I think people ended up, figuring it out, but it was wild.
Yeah.
I was talking to Ben Johns, had this stack. Okay. He's walking by me. He has a stack of paddles aside.
Everybody.
Yeah. And I was and he was going to get them tested. Yeah. And I was laughing, and he has paddles that are in the box. Mm-hmm. This is the other thing. We're not talking about players modifying these paddles. Yeah. He has paddles that are in the box, in the freaking plastic, that have never been opened. He hasn't weighted them. He hasn't even changed the grips on them, nothing. And he's taking them, and they're failing.
Yeah.
That was crazy. They should have just gone wood paddle tournament.
That'd be fun.
Wood paddle MLP.
That would test the true talent, wouldn't it?
Would it?
If everybody has the exact same floor.
What would break first, the Dura or a wood paddle?
Dura.
You think?
For sure.
You think you could break that wood? They're kind of thin.
Funny. Very cool stat. I'm going to get a little cocky here. So I was talking to Carl Schmitz.
Yeah.
And they have this radar gun that they're doing a bunch of different
I saw the video.
Speed things.
Yeah.
And who do you think had the hardest hit ball?
Yeah, well, it must be you.
It was me.
How hard?
How hard do you think it was, and what type of a shot?
So I saw this video, a highlight video of it, and I saw a drive that was 55 miles an hour, which is pretty insane. So I'm going to say that you had an overhead. I'm going to say it was 70.
Close. So he said it was on an Ernie.
Okay.
And it was 69. Nice.
Wow.
Miles per hour.
Nice.
69. Yeah. That's what he said.
Wow.
So I want him to publish actual data.
So he was posting. It was funny because somebody behind, I think it was Ireland with the PPA. Mm-hmm. She does their social media. And I think she was behind him as he was filming stuff. And you could see just the radar gun kind of picking stuff up, and it would be like a counter. Oh, that was 35.
Yeah.
A dink. Those are, 18. And then you would see somebody hit a drive and it'd be 47 serve. So I could see you coming on an Ernie with a big, I could see that being, pretty powerful.
Yeah. So I don't know if it was every single match or just a couple matches. So obviously the sample size wasn't great.
Yeah.
But I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, MLP was a blast. We loved it. We had a good time. It's an event. It's a party. Mm-hmm. It's a great atmosphere. San Clemente. We'll be back.
Okay. Let's get into questions.
Okay, let's do it.
Our next sponsor of this segment is Crown Pickleballs.
We need to talk about
We
them.
need to put something out there in the air.
Yes. Crown Pickleballs.
Crown Pickleballs
are amazing. We love them. We had several people come up to us and say that they had purchased them, and
using our code
KOTC at crownpickleball.store. They love them. They don't last. They last longer than other balls.
Yes.
But in the end,
these are plastic, guys.
They're plastic.
They are plastic. You're hitting it with a paddle. They're going to break.
They will break at some point. Eventually, they could break. There is that possibility. We do think they last longer in our experience. And we've sold thousands and thousands of balls.
Yeah.
We do think the fuzzy ball syndrome with crown pickleballs is actually, it takes longer to reach that.
We've just had a lot of, well, not a lot. We've had a couple, maybe a couple people reach out complaining that the balls are cracking. And, they're eventually going to crack, but they are going to last much longer than the competition.
Yeah. And we honestly, they're a great ball. We endorse them. We love the crown pickleball, but they are not indestructible.
Yeah.
They are plastic in the end. However, with that being said, we do think they are still one of the best balls, if not the best ball on the market. So go check them out.
Very economical.
Yes. Especially for the cost.
Yeah. So,
the reviews are great. Like we had that guy stop us.
We had multiple people.
Yeah, multiple.
We had 5 to 10 people reach out to us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
thank you, Crown Pickleballs. Go check them out. What's the website, Jimmy?
crownpickleball.store.
Okay. All right. So we're going to get into
questions.
Preguntas, questions.
Ooh, that's questions in Spanish for those that don't know that.
All right. Here we go. Best setup pattern for Berts. Jimmy.
Best setup pattern for Berts. You're the freaking Ernie king. You don't do a lot of Berts though.
I don't do Berts. So Bert is where you're jumping in front of your partner.
In front of your partner. Yeah.
So you're kind of taking over and jumping in front of them. And essentially, if you go for a Bert, it has to be a 100% game winner.
If it's not a
point winner.
Yeah.
Ernie, you can still go for it and kind of stay in the point. I do that quite a bit. I'll go for like a semi Ernie or whatever, and I'll still stay in the point. But Berts, if you do that, you're saying the point's going to be over, win or lose after this point.
The Bert King.
Exactly.
Zane Affleck.
Zane is tough. Who else has been doing it? I think Christian Alshon's been doing it a little bit.
I saw Christian actually had one. Like he had one in front of Tyra the other day.
Yeah. Ben Johns, he does it quite a bit.
Yeah. You know who had a sick Ernie in their Dream Breaker, which would have been, because it was singles, it was an Ernie, but it probably would have been a Bert. Was Hayden. Came from the right side of the court against Thomas Wilson.
Nice.
Came from the right side.
Yeah.
Sprints all the way to the left and then hits it back cross court through the kitchen.
Hayden in that Dream Breaker, I believe, won 8 out of 9 points.
Yeah, insane. Remember, Thomas got a point, and he was like,
I think it's funny. Some people have criticized me or just other people about, oh, you sucked in Dream Breakers and stuff like that. And I think if it's a repeated result that you're always losing 0-4, 0-4, 0-4, then that's valid. But if you lose 0-4 or 1-3 or something like that, like once in a while, I think that's fine. I mean, I saw Ben Johns. I think he lost 4 in a row to Zane Affleck. Zane Navratil.
Zane Affleck, always on our mind.
I mean, you put those guys in matches in a normal tournament, I think Ben is winning the vast majority of those games.
Yeah, for sure.
And so for people to criticize somebody always in a Dream Breaker, unless they've had that repeated success or that repeated result, I don't think is necessarily valid. Somebody said, what was Pablo's post about AJ and Fed about? Is this jumping forward too much or?
Yeah, I think that we're going to get into that one. So after
this is MLP focused.
We're going to do MLP. We're going to do a Nationals recap pod as well. Mm-hmm. So tune into that one. And let's just say that we had a little bit of a precursor with the Fed comments to Annalie that led up to some interesting things.
Why do you think there are no pro players that come from badminton background?
So there's one in Utah.
Yes.
But he's not like a high level pro. Mm-hmm. But Bruno, he was a pro badminton player.
Mm-hmm. He hits maybe one of the hardest overheads.
Yeah. Just insane, which you have to with the shuttlecock, right? Yep. Is it called shuttlecock?
I think that's the correct term. Yeah.
Yeah. So
you like that word, huh?
I just think that it's.
What is it?
Shuttlecock. Yeah. Speaking of that, Hayden and Jilly B. Oh, we'll talk about that on our national.
That one is wild.
Anyways,
how is that allowed?
Is badminton? I don't know.
I don't think badminton is all that popular.
Maybe that's why it's not as popular, and that's why we haven't seen many.
There's a guy in Florida. His name is Henry Winarto. Mm-hmm. He used to play pro pickleball, and he was the most deceptive player I've ever played against.
Yeah.
And he could do so much with the flick of his wrist, flick of his hand. Insane. He could be looking one way and just go completely the opposite way. Really? And it's from badminton. He plays on like Team USA or something like that.
Yeah.
Super nice guy.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's interesting. Maybe badminton's just not as well spread.
Somebody asked us about the national tournament going on right now. So we're going to keep this one specific to MLP for the most part.
Yeah. We will get to those though. We promise.
Yeah.
Megapod.
Do you think the Gearbox Power Series will find themselves illegal in 2024?
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, I do too.
I do.
I think it was built to skirt the rules.
I don't know if it was built to skirt the rules per se,
but he knew that it would pass.
Mm-hmm, sure.
He knew what he needed to do, Rafa, with Gearbox.
As of now, there hasn't been any top players using that paddle. Yeah. And so I don't think it's been that much of an issue. But if you find some top 5, top 10, top 20 players starting to use it, the counters that paddle provides is
just case
the fastest paddle I've seen. Most powerful paddle.
I know this is nationals, but you played with James Ignatowicz, and the player had a paddle. Number one, every ball that he hit, this Roman, you could hear it.
Yeah.
Second of all, he hit a counter at James Ignatowicz's face.
Yeah.
And James literally moved and was like, his eyes got big, and he was like, holy
yeah. And James is hard. James is probably the hardest out of anyone out there.
And this dude it was
faster than James.
Hitting nukes. Yeah. I wish they had a gun on it.
The only thing is, that paddle is also very difficult to control.
It was, and you could see it, right? You could see how hard it was.
Very difficult to control. Yeah. And that's always been my stance. I think up till now, minus maybe this one paddle we're talking about, I don't think there's any paddle out there that would be, I think they're all very close right now. Yeah. I would not want to see any more paddles getting more powerful than they are currently.
Yeah.
I think right now is the limit.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the best strategy when your female partner is being targeted and mixed?
So that's a really good question, because you see on these forums, like whenever men come over and like start overplaying balls, that the forums are like, oh, they're just taking the balls, let them play, blah, blah. But the reality is those females are getting targeted. If you play mixed correctly, you're targeting the female. Right. And I'm not saying that all mixed matches, the female is not as good as the man and blah, blah, blah. And there was a mixed match where I've seen they'll target your backhand a little bit. Right.
Not anymore.
Well, yeah, not anymore. The old Tyler Lung. And so I'm not saying that like there's no inferiority complex here or anything like that. But my point with this is that if you see that as the man, you do need to come over and be a little bit aggressive. And you do need to jump on a couple of those balls, right? Like, just slowly start to creep over, in my opinion. And yeah, if you can get one of those balls and reach in and get a speed up, you should. You got to poach a couple.
So one of my highlights made Sports Center top 10.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of the comments, and I mean, going along with this is you get a lot of new people watching the sport. They say, why does this guy not just play 1-2? Like ball hog, everything like that. And so it's a very common question. And those that don't play at the higher level or play pickleball, a lot of times they just don't understand it.
Yeah, for sure. But it's okay. Like you see Annalie even poach balls, you see her poach balls from Ben. Not often, but she will come, if she sees a ball that's floating up and she can come in and put it away, she'll poach those balls. And so, you've got to be aggressive if you see your partner on mixed men's, anything that's getting picked on and maybe they're struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
They've got to know that you're there, and you've got to go and take balls. And if they're picking on them, then where the ball's going. So anticipate it as their partner. Right. And those are the ones that you can sit on.
Yep.
You played a match over the weekend and you guys kind of, it was very apparent where the ball was going to go, and you kept anticipating, and just kept hitting, winners off of it until they had to switch and try to go behind you.
Yep.
So.
All right. Yeah. Anything else? We had a lot of other questions, but most of them were kind of relating to nationals. So we're going to get to that in a
we'll get to that.
Episode.
We'll do another one. But no, I think it's great. Love MLP. I mean, I think it's a fun format. Like I said, loved meeting everybody. People are freaking awesome.
Yeah.
There's some really good up and coming players out there too. By the way, there's a kid named Camden from Ohio. He's like 12.
Yeah.
Already plays 5-0.
12 years old playing 5-0?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And he's freaking good.
Yeah.
I think he's like the next
Ben Johns.
yeah, I mean, the current Ben Johns will only be like 25 by the time this kid breaks in. But yeah.
Well, one comment I saw on one of the forums is saying they were talking about how this is getting into nationals. We'll have to talk about it next time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in. We have to give a big shout out to our last sponsor, Acacia Pickleball.
Yes.
Go check them out. I've been using the shoe for the past 3 years. They have a new updated version. Use code KOTC at acaciasports.com. Jimmy, are you still wearing yours?
Yeah, I am. Actually.
Jimmy doesn't play pickleball anymore. I think he's afraid of people.
I played a couple games at MLP.
Oh, can we talk about the side game that went on?
Yeah, there was some big
side betting game.
There was a game that went on during MLP, and we won't talk about maybe we shouldn't talk about the players involved.
We won't talk about players, but can we talk about the amount of money?
Yeah, because I think there's gambling in pickleball now, and maybe people get in trouble. But there was a $100,000 side game.
$100,000 side game
going on at MLP.
Yeah.
And I will just tell you this, that the players were going all out. The crowd.
Well, that's more money than you win at MLP.
Yeah. And we'll just say this, the players weren't putting up that money.
And we're not saying if these were pro players.
Yes.
We're just saying players.
The crowd was insane. It looked like like one of the center court matches.
Yeah.
And it was as intense of a game as I have seen. It was awesome. Like that's what makes pickleball fun to me.
Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, some of the best things about these tournaments is the atmosphere. Talking with people, socializing, playing the side games, just kind of taking it all in.
Yeah.
Anyways, I saw a couple people wearing the shoe. They came up to me, introduced themselves, and some of them had used our code.
Awesome.
And they love it.
KOTC.
KOTC. Go check them out. Stay tuned. Hit that like and subscribe button. We will see you next time.